What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here, and welcome to our daily show where we discuss the fourth stimulus check update, the new upcoming two different infrastructure/stimulus packages, as well as what is going on in the world today. The IRS has issued another 2 million more stimulus checks today. So if you haven't yet received your third stimulus check yet, $1,400 per person, you could be receiving it in this newest batch, the seventh batch, which brings the total number of payments to approximately 163 million stimulus checks, or about $384 billion. At this point, it looks like about 90 to 95% of the third stimulus checks have been sent out. As with previous disbursements of the third stimulus checks, this batch includes money issued to people whose tax returns have recently been processed by the IRS. That applies to people who the government did not previously have on record, as well as those who are due additional plus-up payments based on their 2020 tax returns. Over 1.2 million payments, or more than $3 billion, went to people who the government did not previously have on file. Additionally, this new round including more than 730,000 plus-up payments representing more than $1.3 billion. Plus-up payments are basically for people who the IRS still owes money to because they didn't have your 2020 tax return on file. So there's several different circumstances why this may have happened, and this could pertain to the fourth stimulus check as well. If you made too much money in the past and you got a reduced stimulus check or no stimulus check, and you now filed your 2020 tax return, they now can send you a plus-up payment if you made less money and the IRS realizes that they now owe you money. Or if you had a new child, a new baby in the family, congratulations, then the IRS now knows about them and can actually go back and send you a plus-up payment or a retroactive payment for what they owe you for that child for the first and second stimulus checks, if applicable. Next up, the president is set to unveil tonight part of the next stimulus package, the American Families Plan. Remember, this is coming out in two different packages. The first one is the American Jobs Plan, which is focused mostly on physical infrastructure and will create millions of jobs. The second plan is the American Families Plan, which will have multiple different stimulus items in it. Here is Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer on past stimulus as well as looking forward, and says that Americans really have hope that more stimulus is coming.
Majority Leader is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now, today the Senate will take up a series of votes to confirm three highly qualified nominees to the Biden administration: Jason Miller for Deputy OMB Director, Janet McCabe for Deputy EPA Administrator, and Colin Kahl for Undersecretary of Defense for Policy. And then, later this afternoon, the Senate will move forward with the process to take up the bipartisan water infrastructure bill. I expect the Senate will do so with significant bipartisan support. The water infrastructure bill is as non-controversial as it gets. It was approved by the Environment and Public Works Committee on a unanimous vote, every single Democrat, every single Republican, thanks to the good work of Chairman Carper and Ranking Member Capito. This water infrastructure bill is also a core component of the Republican infrastructure proposal released last week. So I hope this legislation will serve as a starting point for our two parties to collaborate on infrastructure when and where we can. At the moment, Senators Carper, Duckworth, and Cardin continue discussions with Republican senators about possible amendments. But let me be very clear. The Senate must conclude its work on the water infrastructure bill before the end of the week. This is not a controversial bill or a complicated new program. In too many communities, access to clean, safe, and affordable drinking water is not a guarantee. Surely we can all agree that in America, clean drinking water should be a fundamental guarantee. The Senate must take the first necessary steps to invest in communities with aging water infrastructure by passing this bill, and we must do so this week. Now, on nominees. Yesterday, I highlighted a number of accomplishments the Senate Democrat majority made during the first 100 days of the Biden administration. Thanks primarily to the American Rescue Plan, the most sweeping federal recovery effort in decades, Shots are going into arms, money is going into people's pockets, and businesses, schools, and restaurants are starting to reopen. Americans finally have some reason for hope. Jobs are coming back. The economic recovery is accelerating, and the pace of vaccinations has far exceeded even President Biden's own goals. After one of the most difficult years in recent memory, the first 100 days of the Biden presidency and the new Senate Democratic majority has seen the country turn a corner.
So what Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer is doing is he's actually kind of testing the Republicans in the Senate to see if they're willing to do any bipartisan bills. He's really testing the Republicans because at this point, the Republicans have pretty much been doing what I call the Republican blockade, where they're pretty much not voting for anything coming out of the Biden administration. And this is a test to see for the larger bills, the infrastructure package coming out and the American Families Plan coming out, which will have multiple different stimulus items in there, if there's even a remote chance that they can pass this without the reconciliation process, which means they can pass it without Republican support, because normally you would need 60 votes in the Senate, which would mean you would need 10 Republican votes, as the Senate is 50 Democrats, 50 Republicans. And he's doing this kind of test bill, this feeler bill, which is about $30 billion for water infrastructure to provide clean drinking water to Americans and replace lead pipes and stuff like that. And basically, and this is a good test, and I'm looking at this from a middle perspective. If the Republicans can't come on board, this is about $30 billion, which is like it's like around 1% of the actual infrastructure package. So it's a very tiny bill in comparison to the entire United States. $30 billion for water and clean drinking and replacing water pipes across the whole United States is actually a pretty small bill. Okay, so if Republicans can't come on board and they can't make a deal with this, well, it's basically a test to see, then we'll know that the Republicans really aren't really wanting to deal right now. They're still doing what I call their Republican blockade, where they really don't want to vote for anything underneath President Biden, at least for now. And Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer said this just a few days ago, that this will be a test to see if they're actually willing to deal, if they're actually willing to compromise or put forth infrastructure bills and packages. Because honestly, if they're not for $30 billion in clean drinking water for the U.S., then what are they for, right? I think it would really be, at this point, it would be principle that if they don't go for this, then on principle, they're just not voting for anything from the Democratic side for this point. Now, we've seen this in past administrations as well. We've seen this in the first year of Obama's presidency when the Republicans did the same thing, and the Democrats have done this in the past as well. So we'll see. At some point, this will hopefully end, and we'll get back to some bipartisanship. But if Republicans don't come on board for this tiny, tiny bill for clean drinking water, well, then we'll know that they're not going to probably come on board for anything. And they will need to pass these next two packages through the reconciliation process, of which I think it'll be smarter to do to combine them into one and only use one reconciliation process card or procedure to pass this, and then they can save another one for later on this year. Remember, the Senate parliamentarian has already ruled that they can pass two more bills or packages this year, this fiscal year, so up until October, with the reconciliation process. After that, they can pass more next year. But Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has an interesting kind of little trick up his sleeve. There's a provision in the law that says that you can go back and amend bills. So if they end up passing these two stimulus packages separately, 1 and 2, and use up both their reconciliation processes, they can actually go back and amend them to add more stimulus, say add another stimulus check or add more infrastructure or add anything they want. But again, they would need the votes. And the only votes they would need is just the votes from the Democrats. Remember, the Democrats can completely pass these next bills just like they did the third stimulus check bill, with completely just Democratic votes. The Democrats can pass the bill in the House, although their lead is slimming because they've had a few representatives die and they had one or two quit. So their lead is slimmer than ever. They only have a few vote lead out of 435 total people in the House. And in the Senate is a 50-50 tie which means that if there's a 50-50 tie, the tiebreaker vote goes to the vice president, who is Kamala Harris, for the 51st vote, which is what you need to pass a bill through the reconciliation process. You need just a simple majority of 51 votes instead of the 60 votes for the filibuster, which a lot of people are critical of because it's actually hard to get 60 votes when you're looking at a bipartisan bill. And that's why they want to get rid of the filibuster. But a lot of people say that it'll give the Democrats too much power. And I do totally understand that. But in a year and a half, when we come up for the next election, where the entire House of Representatives is up for re-election again, remember, they only need one vote past 50% to pass bills in the House. But in the Senate, you need 60% of votes. And the Senate is tied 50-50. So this next election in a year and a half will be extremely, extremely important because the margins are so tight. I mean, they're tied in the Senate and just only a few vote lead in the House that it could go, we could see a complete reversal. We could see the Republicans take over both the House and the Senate. We could see the Democrats control again. We could see a split. And in fact, we just seen that new census data, which shows that there's like 7 different seats being taken away from states and given to new states. Most notably, 2 Democratic states, New York and California, are losing 1 House of Representatives seat each. And Texas is gaining 2 seats. Texas is mostly Republican, although this last year, the presidential vote was actually much, much tighter than thought. It almost was won by President Biden, but ultimately, former President Donald Trump did win that again. But Texas is mostly Republican. I say mostly because, well, you never know in the future. Just like New York and California are mostly Democrats. But again, that'll make it even harder for the Democrats to win the House of Representatives next time around, as they're basically losing a few seats because of the new census data. Remember, President Biden will be given his speech tonight to announce the different items that will be in as the starting point for this next next stimulus package, the American Families Plan. Here is what Senate Minority Leader, the leader of the Republicans, Mitch McConnell, has to say about that.
Tonight, Mr. President, President Biden will deliver his first address to a joint session of Congress. I'll be there. And like my fellow Kentuckians watching at home, I'll be curious to hear how the president tries to square his rhetoric with the administration's actions over the past 100 days. Back in January, many Americans hoped they could take the incoming president at his word. After a year spent beating back an historic pandemic and grappling with civil unrest, President Biden pledged he would be, quote, a president for all Americans, end quote, with plans to repair, restore, and heal. The American people elected a 50-50 Senate, a closely divided House, and a president who preached moderation. He promised that his whole soul was committed to uniting our people. Many hoped his administration would reflect that promise, but the first 100 days have left much to be desired.
Now, what we're expected to hear today from President Biden is what I would consider the starting point for what will be in the American Families Plan. There's multiple different items that could or could not be included, but I fully expect that once they announce this, I expect that then the real negotiations will happen, and that will happen based on what Congress, the House and the Senate, wants to put in this package. As you know, support for the 4th stimulus check to be included in this package grows by the day. And even if President Biden doesn't announce it tonight to be initially in the package, I think the support already continues to grow and grow and grow for at least a 4th stimulus check will ultimately be in this package. Remember, the 2nd stimulus check was added literally days before they signed the bill into law. And initially, there was no 2nd stimulus check in there. And then the push and the momentum and the outcry for the 2nd stimulus check eventually made it so they took the money away from states and cities they took it away from one program and gave it to another program, the stimulus checks for the second stimulus check. We already know that both the Senate, right here, this bill from Senators Ed Markey and Elizabeth Warren, have a bill for $2,000 monthly stimulus checks until the pandemic is over to be included in this next infrastructure package. And the House of Representatives also has a recurring stimulus bill, stimulus check bill, for a one-time $2,000 stimulus check, then followed by $1,000 monthly recurring payments that will go until 1 year after the pandemic is declared over. I think that even if we don't see this added initially, it won't really be a big deal because I think that we will see the push from both the House and the Senate to have this included in the next infrastructure bill. I personally think that Biden will say, I think that he won't say this, but I think that what they're thinking is that, it's still kind of close to the third stimulus check package, so we won't announce it yet. We'll see if we can get support from the Republicans for either of these packages, which they probably won't. And then, as they get closer to passing the package, they'll say, well, some time's gone by, and we've realized that we really need to have another stimulus check or these recurring stimulus checks in this package, as well as we could also see all the other things we've been talking about on this channel, such as the Social Security increases. We have two different bills, one for an SSI increase of $279 per month. We're not sure if that could end up including SSDI as well. And then the other package, the broader stimulus proposal, for the $200 per month increase for all Social Security beneficiaries. And again, this comes directly from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren and Ron Wyden. This also could be included in this next infrastructure slash stimulus bill, the second half of it, the American Families Plan. We also could see the free college provisions. President Biden himself actually spoke on having free college included possibly, as well as an increase to the child income tax credits. Right now, those are passed just for this year of 2021 and is currently $3,000 for children over the age of 6 through 17 and $3,600 for children under the age of 6. And the IRS is setting up a monthly payment plan to send out monthly stimulus checks to basically anybody with children under 18, and all you have to do is have a Social Security number and make under the income limits, which is the same as the third stimulus check. So that's already passed, but it's only passed for just this year. I think it's very likely we're going to see this extended in this next package, possibly to 2025 is the most likely scenario. There's another bill from the Democrats in the House that is to make this bill permanent, or at least going forward until it was changed in another legislation, possibly by a future administration. So there's a lot of different things on the horizon. So we're going to have really big news tonight. Remember, our next two videos come out at 8 p.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tonight. So don't miss out on these next upcoming videos. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below. It's completely free to do so. After the president announces this, we'll be talking it over, going over what's included, what's not included, and what needs to happen to get everything else included that we're looking for. So make sure to subscribe. Click the bell icon to all notifications to get reminder notifications when we go live, which is every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't miss an episode because we talk about different stimulus provisions in different videos. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video teaches you how to start your own business selling products on the Amazon FBA platform. I have dozens of students that have replaced their 9-to-5 income selling products on Amazon, and I teach them how to do that. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.